So, in chapter 2, we talked about Misa Merkava, God acting in the world intellectually through angels. And so now we're getting into chapters 3 and 4, which concerns God acting in the world physically through the heavenly spheres, the physical elements. This is known as Misa Bereshis. So this is a little complicated to talk about because in modern times we are not holding by Aristotelian physics. So it's still important to know the paradigms that Maimonides was dealing with and the rest of the Jewish world, the non-Jewish world as well, that they were expressing these ideas about God, about the world through these paradigms. So we should understand these paradigms, but we should also try to understand how it relates to our current paradigms. So I'll try to address these issues to know what Maimonides is talking about and maybe speak a little bit about how we can relate to it. So yes, in the Middle Ages, according to Aristotelian science, really the science of antiquity, which preceded Aristotle, they believed that the earth was at the center of the universe and it was surrounded by spheres. That they said that the sun, the moon, the planets are living conscious beings in the sky beyond the terrestrial earthly realm, and that they are the masters of the terrestrial earthly realm. That in our realm we have four elements: earth, air, fire, and water. And these elements mix and decompose to form everything that we see in the world. And the cause of this mixture is the rotation of the heavenly spheres. And they exist in the fifth element. The Greeks called it ether. The Romans called it quintessence. Fifth element, as maybe you've heard in some movies and whatnot. This is how it's referred to by the Romans. And in Genesis, it seems that the heavenly sphere, the entirety of the spheres, is referred to as the Rokia, or the firmament. It's a little debatable, but that's how it appears to me, at least. So the conception is that the heavenly sphere is composed of many different spheres embedded within each other, like the layers of an onion. Each sphere rotates with a different velocity, and the velocities of the different spheres relate to one another, and the nature of their velocity affects how the elements on Earth are mixed. The ancients conceived of the movement of these spheres as having a musical quality to them, that the nature of their rotation is in harmonic relationship to one another. And therefore, understanding of harmonics was an essential aspect of understanding metaphysics, according to the ancient philosophers like Greek and Aristotle, that they said a person has to first understand simple logic like arithmetic, and then geometry, and then astronomy, and then harmonics, and finally dialectics, discussion, in order to approach like very kind of abstract understanding of things. With this connection between this association of music to the movement of the spheres, we can maybe find a reconciliation to how, like some religious ideas that we're finding in Maimonides, as well as in other philosophers, Islamic and Christian philosophers like Averroes and Thomas Aquinas, that there's a relationship between the movement of the spheres, their orbits, and harmonics, because the ancients could perceive that for example, a harp, when you pluck it, you can see the waveform of the string, that it's rolling back and forth. And they associated this movement with the movement of the rotation of the heavenly spheres, the planets that are within them. And this is really accurate because we understand that wave energy is in fact orbital energy, that the nature of ocean waves is, we can see that they are rolling through the water, and that when they come to shore, the the ocean bottom slows, it interferes with the rolling of the wave, and that's what causes the water on the top to spill over. And this is just one manifestation of waves, that it is apparent that the energy that's contained within waves is orbital energy. So they were correct to associate the orbits of the spheres with music and a type of wave energy. And now we see wave energy in aspects of the physical world, but at the microscopic level. We see that light has wave properties, sound has wave properties, subatomic particles have wave properties. It seems that at the microscopic level, maybe at this level is where the physical and non-physical, the non-physical is manifesting at physical, that at the smallest level, we see the most essential energy as this type of orbital energy. And this corresponds to with what Aristotle says, and Maimonides echoes, that in the terrestrial realm, things move in lines up and down. In the heavenly realm, things move in orbits. And maybe with modern physics we see this paradigm still hold, but in a different fashion than what the ancients were envisioning. So while these conceptions are antiquated, perhaps there's still some logic to them, and whatever the case, it's good to know about, just to understand the context in which these writers are speaking. We see in Judaism that it's acknowledged that there's intermediary intellectual forces and intermediary physical forces that act on God's behalf and rule over the world. In Judaism, of course, we're commanded to not worship or pray to any of these intermediary powers, but only to conceive of God as we described in the first chapter, and to pray and worship Him alone. Maimonides specifies at the end of chapter 4 that the spheres are affecting the physical elements, and the soul of man is a product of the intellect and relates to spiritual emanation through angels and the like. He mentions that these subjects are the topics of essential mitzvot of knowledge and loving and fearing God. However, it quickly becomes complex, so you shouldn't go on and on with just anyone, but you should be conscientious who you're talking to so that ideas don't become nonsensical and watered down. So we see Maimonides here is just outlining the general principles for us.